This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by State Farm Insurance.
Temperatures on the rise, meaning you have probably already heard the roar of motorcycles on the road.
And whether you're on the motorcycle or you're a driver near one, there are steps we all need to take to make sure everyone stays safe. Joining us today with a few guidelines is Susan Lynch, a State Farm insurance agent in Federalsburg. Susan, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
I live near the bypass. I heard what sounded like thousands of motorcycles going up yesterday. They are everywhere. We just really need to, I guess, keep our eyes extra open.
Absolutely. It's very important to motorists, especially the motorcycle riders, that we're very diligent about watching out for each other on the road.
Let me ask you this. Let's say I'm on the road, I'm coming up on a motorcyclist in the same lane, we're going the same direction. What should I try to do to keep everybody safe in that situation?
Well, first of all, make sure that we understand that the motorcycle deserves as much space as any other vehicle on the road. And so if we need to pass, we don't want to pass in the same lane. Make sure you give them a full lane width. Also, if you are going to be behind the motorcycle, leave plenty of time and keep an eye out for their signals, and don't trust if their signals are on that they're actually going to be making the turn or changing lanes, because their vehicles don't have the auto shut off like most of our cars do.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, keep an open mind about watching for road hazards.
For them and for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you actually had some personal experience with some motorcycles, some friends of your son?
Yes, actually 2 separate instances where some of our friends were on motorcycles, and either one was struck by another motorist who was not quite alert, and then another was in the rain this weekend. So it's important to pay attention to the weather too when you're going to be out on your motorcycle.
Okay, well, with that in mind, let's talk about following distance for just a little bit, because you need to give them a little extra room, don't you?
Indeed. Motorcycles stop faster, typically, than any other vehicle. So there's some minimums that are suggested by the states. In Delaware, they suggest a minimum of 2 seconds. Maryland suggests 3 to 4, and then in Virginia, their minimum is 3 seconds.
So that just means if they pass a pole, you count like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, whatever the case may be, before you pass that pole.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So we're talking about the motorists who are on the road. What about the motorcycle riders? What are some guidelines they should follow?
Well, one thing we always suggest is imagine that you are invisible, because a lot of times motorcyclists are invisible to the bigger vehicles on the road, either in blind spots or what have you. And then, of course, wear protective gear. That's the only thing that stands between you and the road. So you want to make sure that you're wearing an appropriate helmet and then the correct apparel so that you're highly visible. 41%
of fatalities came from people who are not wearing a helmet?
Yes, isn't that a sad statistic?
That is.
But it's not required to wear your helmet everywhere.
No, in the state of Delaware, riders 19 years and under are required to wear a helmet, but if you're older than that, you must carry a helmet with you. Now, Maryland and Virginia do require helmets for both the operators and passengers.
Okay.
All right. These are laws, but what else can motorcyclists do?
Well, certainly be alert when you're on the road. Be respectful, obviously, of other cyclists and of other motor vehicles. And again, be prepared. Don't drink and ride just like you would with a regular motor vehicle. And take your time. Don't speed and don't rush.
Yeah.
Pretend you're invisible. I think that is absolutely the most.
Because sometimes you are if you get into a blind spot.
Indeed. Yes.
Okay.
So what if we're thinking about, not that I would be, what if we're, but I might, what if we're thinking about getting a motorcycle?
Well, some of the new motorcycles now have anti-lock brake systems, and now as of 2012, only 80 models had the anti-lock brake system, which is definitely behind the larger counterparts on the road. But if you are purchasing a bike and thinking about doing that, it's certainly something to consider. Other bikes have independent braking systems, which can cause accidents if we're not as diligent, and sometimes if we just make a mistake. Whereas the anti-lock brake system helps determine whether or not you're going to be braking too quickly and if you're losing traction on the road. So it can help prepare you and keep you from having an accident.
Of course, all that safety equipment is not a substitute for safe riding.
Indeed. Yes, that's correct.
Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Good
for
information,
having me.
and if you'd like more information from State Farm Insurance on motorcycle safety, visit WBOC.com. Click on our picture at the top of the